What's going on, guys? It's Matt Marino for Real Estate Recovery Group, and I've got my special guest today, Yarik, and it's Yarik Buys Houses, and I'm excited to have this young fella on. When I met him a little over 2 years ago, he had a full head of hair. COVID just destroyed him, obviously. He
Definitely did.
he pulled all his hair out, and I'm happy to have him on because in a very short period of time, yeah, seriously, in a very short period of time, this young man has figured out from going into buying one-family houses, he's now buying mixed-use, multi-family properties. Based on conversations we've had, I'm going to say he might be a master negotiator. He's got a background in digital marketing. He's been doing this now since 2018,
Yeah,
full time. So it's like 2 years, and he's raising private capital.
correct.
Well, I want to have Yurik on tonight. I want to talk about what he's up to, and I got some serious loaded questions for this guy because he's only been doing it for a short period of time, and we actually met at one of the local RIAs. So without further ado, my main man, Yurik, what's going on, bud?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited to be here and sharing my whatever I can with your follow base. My name is Yarik, who buys houses. As some of you guys know, I'm super excited to share whatever knowledge I have. Like I said before, if I don't understand it, I can't teach it. So I'm here to see and give as much as I can. So let's start and let's see what we can offer.
All right, cool, awesome. So I do have a couple of questions, like
Go
everybody
for it.
else who comes on. So, we did touch base on negotiating, and I know that you and I've had long-winded conversations about that, and it really is an art. So,
Yeah.
my question to you is, what is the best way to negotiate? Forget what the asset or whatever the item is that you're trying to buy. What would you consider? What would be the best way to try to negotiate something?
So the best way to negotiate in everything in life, I feel like, is providing value, right? If you are a problem solver, that's where negotiation starts. So meaning there's somebody's wants to sell something or give something up or trade something, and now it's your duty to come in and help that individual, right? Your goal is to help. Once you start helping people, the money is actually the bonus, right? Because most of us start focusing on money specifically, but we have to understand that money is a bonus. Money, I like to say, it's not real. It's just it's a byproduct. It's a bonus. So in reality, is the goal is to close, right? And you yourself, you do short sales, and you know that there's a lot of moving parts in any equation, any form we're going to, and the goal is to actually close, right? If you don't close, nobody's winning, nobody's making money, and nobody's actually converting. So the best way to negotiate is to figure out how are you a problem solver, right? How are you solving the other person's problem, and where you are able to give.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
So, the issue that I normally come up with is, at least in my realm and what I'm doing is I have issues with sellers that are unrealistic.
Oh,
Either,
100%.
either one, with what they think the value may or may not be of the
Yep.
property. Two, communication between spouses or whoever actually owns the property, might be
Yep.
a title or the mortgage. And three, there's always there's a like an emotional attachment, and people feel like, oh, like I'm giving up, my dream home.
Golden egg.
Yeah, the golden egg with the golden
Yeah.
goose. The
Yeah.
problem is that 9 times out of 10, when it gets to me, that ship has already sailed. There's a lot of sour grapes in the middle between the homeowners and I guess expectations of what they want to do, and one has realistic expectations and the other one doesn't. So it's
Yep.
never. I really get people on the same page. Unfortunately, I deal with people that are separated, going through a divorce. I do love when people come back together and they realize that it's just brick and mortar and hey,
Yep.
mistakes were made and they go on. So believe it or not, a lot of that has to do with the negotiation aspect of it, at least with what I'm doing with the distressed sellers, because they need to realize it's obviously in their best interest. Nobody's going to want a foreclosure,
Exactly.
on their record. So the next question that I have is, How can negotiations be a win-win for both parties?
Right. So kind of going back to what you said is, you have to, both parties have to come to a conclusion where you close, right? So when does it become a win-win? If and now let's focus on real estate specifically. If the deal doesn't get closed, nobody's winning,
Right.
right? There's a reason why the property was on the market, right? It's for it to sell. Now, sometimes, the agent could be wrong, the seller could be wrong, whatever it is. It's not being wrong, it's just the awareness, right? Our awareness, like, oh, hey, listen, the market is hot. My street, the property next door sold for $1 million. I want $1 million. And now it's your duty, and to make them understand that for them to win in this transaction, they have to come to the realization of the current stats. You know, what are people willing to pay, right? What is the fair market value, right? So, for example, like one of the ways I look at a property is how many days has it been on the market, right? If it's been over 6 months, 3 months, those are signs that, hey, the price might be too high.
Mm-hmm.
Now that price was set either by the agent or by the seller, and now it's your duty. Our duty is how do we make it a win-win, right? How do we get it to the closing table? So how
Mm-hmm.
does this person who wants to sell actually, goes part with his property and goes on to his own way? So how do we win-win? Is to pretty much take our awareness, or our perception, and hopefully in a way where we're able to communicate with the seller, ask them questions, right? We ask questions, we see their awareness, we see what is the reason, what is the motivation, what is the goal, right? And once we start tapping into those things, we start understanding their awareness, their surroundings, and that's when we are able to say, hey, listen, I understand you want, and I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm in a contract on a mixed-use property. The seller wanted 375, right? So the property was on the market for about 3 months, 90 days. It's a hot market. And meanwhile, keep in mind that this 6 months ago, I started building rapport with the seller. So he wanted 375. It needed work. It's in a great location. It definitely has a potential, but people are not buying it. People are not bidding on it, right? People coming by, taking a look at it, and they're leaving. They're not closing on this deal. So I came in and I explained to him, listen, I'd love to give you this amount of money, and this is why, right? And there's certain words that we need to use, and that connect with people. And when I say that, for example, like I do a lot of like self-awareness and like self-improvement, self-education. And one of the things I'd like to do is like follow guys, for example, like Chris Voss. He's a negotiator for FBI, and he has certain ways of explaining to you how to use certain words and like how to trigger the person to respond. Maybe not the way, not like in a bad way, but in a way where their awareness comes maybe links up to yours. Right.
I,
So you just
I mean, like for me, like I have a way of people responding in a very bad way to me.
okay. So how would you say? In which way is that?
Now I'm only kidding.